My first combat was um, in Okinawa. Um, and the Marine Corps training is strenuous and tough and demanding, uh, but it is the kind of training that really makes a difference when you're facing the enemy. And my uh, I, when I first went overseas after Quantico and OCS, and then I was sent out to Camp Pendleton, and from there we did training there, and I did was responsible for one of the training exercises, which later on pretty well changed my life. But after we left, we went first to Saipan, and the battle was still raging, and we were going to go in. And when we pulled into the Saipan harbor, there were people, there were women on the cliffs above who were so brainwashed about the Americans, and particularly the Marines, that they were taking their children in their arms and jumping into the rocks below. It was horrifying. And soon after that, there was before I left the ship, we were told that they needed people, officers particularly, in Okinawa, where they had was the bloodiest battle of the Pacific, and you're taught always never volunteer for anything, but for whatever reason, I and about 8 or 9 other second lieutenants did volunteer, and we went to Okinawa, and I took over a rifle platoon, and I was a platoon commander, and we fought that battle, and it was the first blooding for me, and of course a stunning kind of memories from it. We got them in time to surrender, and then we finally got through a number of battles, major battles. We got them to have a formal surrender. But the experience was pretty devastating in terms of Okinawa itself. Many years later, coming back from Vietnam, the commanding general was a friend of mine, and so in coming back from Vietnam, I arranged to stop in Okinawa, and of course, I recognized certain landmarks, but it was a thriving, really, in many ways, beautiful place. And I never forget, after a couple of days, and I was getting ready to go fly back, the airfield there, and all these things had been improved, of course, since we were there. They had fine buildings, and There are places where we had battles. Shuri Castle, for instance, one of the that were totally changed, and there were fine roads, and the Naha, which is their capital city, were like being home. I mean, it was really amazing to me to see it after having fought there. And one day the general, I told him I wanted, before I went home, I was going to go next day, I wanted to buy some things to give for my kids and for Louise. And so he took me down to a merchant that he knew, and I went in and found some things. So after I had bought all this merchandise, I don't know how, maybe $200 or something like that. I thanked him and went to pay. Oh, no, he said, no pay. I said, look, I can't take these things. You're in business to make a living, and I'm a guest here, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness, but I do want to pay for everything. He said, you could pay my way. I tell you how you could pay. I said, okay. He said, General, tell me you write Perry Mason. And I said, yes. And he said, in Rayuka's chain, I have friends. And he told me all the islands where they're located. And he said, after first act, Perry Mason we see on Sunday, first act. After first act, we all write in, what is the killer? Now, if you could tell me what is the killer, well, I thought he was putting me on. I told him I wouldn't know what episode it was or anything else. But I had written a lot of Perry Masons. I later was the story consultant, and then I was the producer. But it was a hilarious experience. But I came home and had my gifts for my kids and for Louise, and I insisted on paying him, and I did. But that was on my way home from Vietnam.